You know that feeling of dread when you check your inbox? You finally see it, that brutal 1 out of 10 customer satisfaction score.
Right.
But it's 2 days late. And by the time you've read it, that customer has already moved on, they're frustrated, and they're gone forever.
That delay, that 2-day window, is just absolutely fatal to growth, especially today. We're here to talk about the solution. Workflow automation.
Okay.
It turns that fatal manual delay into a professional, systematic, 2-second response.
Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we are extracting the blueprint for intelligent business workflow automation. And we're not just, summarizing a guide. We are taking the actual battle experience from someone who's lived this and deployed these systems under pressure.
And our mission for you, the listener, is simple, but it's also deeply ambitious. We're building a system that doesn't just save customer feedback in some spreadsheet.
It has to do more.
It must think. It needs to tell you precisely and immediately when a customer is angry and requires a human to step in. We'll cover the exact tools, the visual building blocks, and the vital daily checks that make this whole system truly crash-proof.
Okay, let's unpack this blueprint. When we talk about automation, I think a lot of people still picture those expensive, complex robots or, massive enterprise software.
Yeah.
But what is workflow automation in its simplest, most useful form?
Honestly, it's just setting up a dependable chain of actions. If action A happens in app 1, let's say a form is submitted, the system automatically does action B in app 2.
Like updating a database.
Exactly, like updating a database. That is the core of it, and it's surprisingly accessible.
So if the technology is that straightforward, why are manual processes such a dangerous blocker to growth?
Well, manual work introduces 2 huge failure points: human mistakes and critical speed delays. Automation just eliminates that human error. Think about just typing a customer's phone number or email address. A simple typo, and you've lost goodwill, you've lost any follow-up potential, and your data is wrong. Instantly.
And speed is everything now. It's completely non-negotiable.
Non-negotiable. If you get a critical 1 out of 10 score, the system has to identify that severity and flag it in 2 seconds. That prevents customer churn before it can even really start. And, maybe more importantly, it frees up your brain. Stop doing that boring, repetitive copy-paste work. Use that time for strategic thinking, new ideas, better service, actual growth.
So the biggest blocker that manual work creates isn't just the volume of work, it's the mistakes and those fatal speed delays.
Precisely.
And this is where it gets really interesting for the person listening right now who doesn't code. I mean, previously, if you wanted your software to talk to other software, you had, 2 high-cost choices?
That's right.
You either hired expensive programmers or you used high-cost tools like Zapier, especially if you had a lot of data volume.
And tools like NA were basically born to break that wall down. They're the engine of this whole no-code revolution. They democratize the power.
So you don't need to learn Python or JavaScript.
No. All you need is just basic logical thinking. If the customer fills out this form, then send that message. This puts the power of a software engineer into the hands of a normal business person.
I really like the analogy of building the system with Lego blocks of data.
Yeah.
Makes a complex idea feel really tangible.
That's exactly how it works visually. These functional blocks are called nodes. Each node is a very specific action. So you might have a Typeform node to get data, an Airtable node to write the data, and then a Trello node to send an alert.
So your job is literally just drawing the lines between these action blocks to create a flow of data. And, the satisfaction isn't just seeing that map, it's knowing the map is actively working 24/7 to prevent customer churn. That usefulness, that's the real moment of wonder.
And that visual map, it provides something critical. It's an immediate audit trail. If something breaks, you don't go hunting through text files. You just look at the flow and you see the red block instantly.
So that simplicity, that visual map, it gives you an audit trail and you don't get lost in complex text.
Now let's get into the tech stack. A professional self-monitoring system like this really needs 4 essential players. Your core automation team.
Okay, number 1, Typeform. This is your front end. It collects customer information in a beautiful, easy way, making sure people actually finish the form.
Number 2 is Airtable. This is your smart spreadsheet, and it has to be the single source of truth. And we should really emphasize why it's better than something like Google Sheets.
Okay.
Airtable forces you to define data types. It's a relational database. So this prevents ambiguous data, like, putting text into a number field, which is critical for a machine to read it correctly.
Number 3, then, is Trello. And this is the action center. So when that bad critical data arrives, a card just pops up here for the team to deal with immediately. It moves data from just being stored to being an active assignment.
And finally, number 4, NA8N. This is the brain. It's the connective tissue. This is where you actually build the automation that connects Typeform, Airtable, and Trello together.
Now, really crucial decision for stability is cloud versus self-hosted. So if I'm a beginner, why shouldn't I just download NAN onto my own computer? I mean, it's cheaper, right?
It seems cheaper, and while self-hosting gives you control, we strongly recommend the cloud version for beginners. The reason is, if you install N8N on your computer, the automation only runs when your computer is on and awake.
Ah,
So if your laptop goes to sleep at 2 a.m., you miss customer submissions.
meaning you lose the data and you could lose the customer.
Exactly. The cloud is like the light that never goes out. It runs 24/7, 365, and it also handles all the heavy technical stuff. Security updates, backups, scaling. It does it for you so you can focus on your workflow, not on maintaining servers.
And when you first look at the NAN interface, the key areas are nodes for building, workflows for saving your work, and then that vital executions tab. That tab is your professional dashboard. It shows you the history and flags any errors.
Airtable's reliance on structured field types, which stops that ambiguous data, that's the key difference from a normal spreadsheet.
Now we get into the actual building blocks, and this starts with a golden, non-negotiable rule. Garbage in, garbage out.
That's right.
If your input forms are messy, your automation is going to get confused, it'll misclassify data, or it'll just stop working entirely.
It will. And that's why we need 3 core pillars for clean input right in Typeform.
Okay, pillar 1, the quantitative key. This has to be a 1 to 10 rating or an opinion scale. We need numbers because they are the easiest thing for the automation brain, for any N, to understand and compare.
Pillar 2, qualitative insight. You have to include a long text question for the why. We use the automation to process the number, but we need the human story to understand the context behind that number.
And pillar 3, the identity marker. You must always get the email. Without an email, your system has no idea who said what, and you can't close the loop to fix their problem.
And you can even use Typeform's built-in logic jumps to make the form think ahead of time. So if a user gives a 1 out of 10 score, the form could immediately jump to an extra question asking for their phone number.
Ah, so you're getting more context before it even hits the automation.
Exactly. More detail before the data even hits NAN.
You know, speaking of fatal missteps, let's talk about the destination database, Airtable. It can also be a failure point if it's set up wrong. You know, I still wrestle with prompt drift myself when I'm building complex systems. But a simpler mistake I often made early on was just forgetting to hit the publish button in Typeform after making a change. A tiny, fatal step.
Oh, that happens to everyone. And once that clean data is flowing, your Airtable structure has to be built like a database, not just a prettier Excel. Field types matter so much for automation. You need the specific email field type, and crucially, you have to set the score column to number and integer.
Why is forcing that integer field type so critical?
Because if the score is set to text, the automation just sees a string of characters. It can't understand that the number 5 is smaller than the number 7.
So can't compare them.
It can't reliably compare values or do any math to execute the intelligent logic.
So making the score an integer field type allows the automation brain, NAN, to reliably compare values and do math. And that's the whole basis for making a decision.
Now we focus on connecting and thinking. So the first step is setting the trigger. We add the Typeform trigger node in N8N. This is the system's ear. And it's just listening for that submit click to wake NN up. And you always want to test that connection immediately.
Okay, and next we map the data into Airtable. When you add the Airtable node, mapping is how you connect the incoming Typeform fields to the right Airtable columns.
And here's a pro secret that moves you from like a hobbyist to a professional. Use expressions instead of just typing.
Okay, what does that mean?
You click the little gear icon next to the field. This dynamically references the exact data stream coming from Typeform. It prevents errors if you, say, later rename a column in Airtable. Instead of typing customer email, you select the variable for that field. It makes the mapping robust.
Then comes the intelligence, the IF node. This node is what fundamentally transforms a passive copy machine into a system that actually thinks.
Yeah, we teach the system to make a dynamic decision. We set the logic. And we can make it complex, not just if score is smaller than 7. We could group conditions like F score 7 and D, AI sentiment, angry.
And that creates 2 different paths immediately.
2 distinct paths. The true branch, the critical words go straight to Trello.
And the false branch, so score 7 to 10, the happy customers, they're just saved in Airtable.
Correct. For the happy customers, the workflow just stops cleanly. We use a dedicated no-operation node at the end of that false branch. Now, it isn't strictly necessary for it to function, but it's a pro move for clean debugging. It shows you exactly where the workflow completed successfully.
And this is where we can really maximize the intelligent part. We could add an AI value using the OpenAI node right after the Typeform trigger, but why add AI if we already have the 1 to 10 score?
Because a 9 out of 10 score could still have a really mean comment, right? Or a 6 out of 10 could have a passive, sarcastic response that a simple number check would miss. We use a focused LLM prompt to catch that nuance.
Can you give us a real example of that prompt?
Sure, something simple like, you are a customer expert. Read this customer feedback. Tell me if the overall tone is happy, neutral, or angry. Only answer with one single word.
Ah, I see.
And this is critical because it gives the IF node the brain-structured data, happy or angry, that a human rushing through might miss.
The IF node fundamentally transforms a passive system into an intelligent one by shifting from just copying data to dynamic decision-making based on these complex thresholds.
Exactly. And now we address the final, most crucial element, monitoring and stability.
Right, building automation is like planting a tree. You can't just plant it and walk away. It needs care.
Things break. It's inevitable. Passwords expire, Typeform updates its security, Airtable renames a field. A daily, routine 5-minute check prevents you from losing 50 customer feedbacks without you even knowing it happened. That routine is the difference between a reliable system and an abandoned project.
And that's where the executions tab saves you. The green circle is your best friend, perfect data flow. But the red X, it's not a reason to panic.
No, not at all.
It's N8N showing you exactly where the pipe is leaking with pinpoint precision.
Experts build systems that handle failure gracefully. The red X shows you the exact failed node. Common errors are like 401 unauthorized, which just means you need to reconnect your password in that one node.
Or maybe a field not found error because a column in Airtable was renamed.
Right. Or sometimes you might even get a data format error if a customer, includes weird characters or tries to put text where a number should be. But clicking that failed execution shows you the exact red node and the cause.
So this daily 5-minute routine ensures the system never stays broken for long. That regular monitoring is what transforms this from a weekend hobby into a professional-grade machine that can scale.
We have moved from the stress of manual burnout to building a professional self-monitoring thinking machine that works reliably while you sleep. The key ingredients are that structured input, visual logic with the IF node, and continuous daily monitoring.
So don't just, read about this deep dive. If this is relevant to you or your business, open your laptop today. Sign up for a free trial of N8N and just start drawing your first lines between those nodes. The feeling when your system runs its first complex logic without you touching it, it's incredibly satisfying.
And the real test of an expert professional system isn't when the data is perfect and flows smoothly. It's when you build in the safety nets for the truly unexpected, like when a customer types a weird emoji into a text field or a password silently expires.
Yeah.
Knowing how your system will handle that ambiguity, that is the difference between hoping it works and knowing it works.
We'll see you next time on The Deep Dive.